Alternative Facts Chicago.
Chicago's #1 podcast.
Chicago. The city of Chicago. Alternative Facts Chicago.
Chicago's #1 podcast.
Audio file production.
The city of Chicago.
So I think we are all thawed off from the crazy cold here in Chicago the past week, but we are back. Alternative Facts Chicago, episode 76. B.Hun on the line with my homie Cait. How are you?
Hey, good.
It's been a minute. I'm great.
It has. We were battling this polar vortex in Chicago and Arctic weather. It was insane.
And you were stuck in Austin, couldn't get back, right?
Yeah, stuck in Austin, and then I was stuck in freaking Denver, which sounds amazing.
Right.
But I was just missing work and not able to do the podcast and having to still depend on other people to take care of my crazy dog. So it ended up being a mess.
I know. So you would have been way stressed out to do an episode last week. So for the greater good of you and for our listeners having to deal with you, we decided to postpone. I know, I'm kidding.
I am charming always.
Sometimes, but dealing with, a dog you can't be around,
Right.
no needs your attention. You got a job that was probably yelling at you because you weren't in town.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was best that we took a pause for a week, but we're back.
We are.
Ready to go.
I had a couple of people text too and be like, man, I thought I was going to listen to the podcast and sit inside because it was so cold. And I was like, oh, sorry.
I know. I had people be like, yo, where's the podcast? I'm like, chill, relax. Like, we're coming back. They thought it was over or something. They're like,
it's like that. It's like the Dave Chappelle meme where he's like, anyway,
we're
y'all
back.
get your fix this week. Don't worry.
Absolutely. So a lot to talk about. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. We're definitely going to have a good action-packed show for you guys. Got a big announcement here to announce that we've been waiting for a couple of weeks. Can't wait to talk about that. But first, let's plug our social media.
Yeah, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Alternative Facts Chicago, and then follow us on Twitter. B.Hun's real active on there. It's at A-Fact Chicago. You can hit me up on Instagram, Cait, C-A-I-T, no Jenner, and on Twitter, Cait Hassett.
Absolutely. And I'm at B.Hun, B-H-U-N, 1984 on Twitter as well as Instagram. You can email us sponsorship ideas, relationship ideas at alternativefactchicago@gmail.com. It's definitely been working. We got some good things in the works for possible future sponsorships, so keep them coming. We appreciate that. Keep our Facebook coming. We know we get a lot of comment, feedback from all of our posts. We thank you all for the engagement, and we thank you for the support. Remember, you can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify as well, SoundCloud, Google Play, anywhere you can find us on your favorite podcast network. We thank you all for the support, and we'll keep the train moving. But now I think it's time to get into our big announcement. Cait, hit them with it.
Yeah, so ever since the last live podcast we did for Chicago Podcast Festival, shout out to them. They put on a great show. We've been just itching to do another live podcast. So much fun. And we're so happy to announce that we are doing one. And not only are we doing another podcast, live podcast show, but we're doing one with our friends, Sensible People. So they're a podcast that we support a lot. We're really good friends with Taylor. And then also a Brew with You, a great Chicago-based podcast where they try different types of beer on air. So right up our alley. It's going to be a blast, and it is happening this month, February 26th. It's a Tuesday from 7 to 10 p.m. at Safe House Chicago.
Yep.
It's like a cool spy-themed restaurant. We're going to have the back area just for the live podcast. It's going to be a blast, and tickets are only $12 ahead of time. The Eventbrite link is on our Facebook. You can buy them there. Please buy them in advance. Please don't wait till the last minute. Buy them now. Let us know you're coming to the show. And then a portion of those proceeds is going to go to Ronald McDonald Charities. So make sure you check it out. We are so excited. It's going to be a fantastic show. We're already in the talk of little surprises for the night. So make sure you're there.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you all for even allowing us to do a live podcast, to have the support, to know that we can get people out. We have other great podcasts in Chicago, like A Brew with You, Sensible People podcasts that are down to do this. It's always great doing a live show. It's a lot of fun. If you've never come to one, I've said this many times, you need to come to one. It's fun. There'll be drinks. There'll be food, entertainment. You get to see 3 different podcasts of all different types come together. So it's definitely going to be a great night. It's on a Tuesday night, so we figure people shouldn't be that busy. And on Tuesday after work, you can get there, come enjoy our show. And we can't wait. And we are proud that, some of the proceeds are going to go to the Ronald McDonald House, which means that if you're not able to attend, if you do not live in Chicago, if you're somewhere else in the country, you can still support the show and know that a portion of the money that you send to us will go to Ronald McDonald House. So make sure you check out the event by Bright on our Facebook page. I know I can't talk. On our Facebook page. We'll have it posted on our Twitter and other social media aspects as well.
It's everywhere.
We definitely want you guys to come out. If not, please still buy a ticket and support us. Live shows are fun, and we can't wait. It's going to be a dope night.
Yeah, absolutely. And not even just because you're a fan of our show come out, because the other 2 podcasts are awesome. Like when we did the Chicago Podcast Festival and we were on stage with Southside Heat, we got a couple fans off of their podcast. I got a couple girls that follow me on social now that were like, man, I listen to your podcast every week because I met you guys that night. So even if you love our podcast, these ones that we're going to be with are a little bit different, but so fun. And so make sure you come out. You might find a new podcast.
Absolutely. So they're fun. They're a great time. Can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Come out, support. February 26th, 7:00. We'll be doing a lot of promotion here over the next couple of weeks. I know we've been a little busy, but now the promotion is going to kick up. We definitely want you all to come out and enjoy the show. So with that being said, let's get into our fan of the week before we get into the topics of today. Now, this fan of the week is a guy, actually one of my coworkers. I manage him. Awesome dude. He loves podcasts. And the day he started working with me, he found that I had one. He's been listening ever since. His name is Mitch Blanco. You can find him on his Instagram at BLACOM10. Huge fan of the show. Listens every week. Every next day he comes into work and we talk about the episode. He comments on some of the things that we said. So that's why we do it for you, the listeners. We appreciate that. Mitch might have to buy you a drink sometime this weekend to thank you for listening to our show. But we thank you for supporting Alternative Facts Chicago. You can also be a fan of the week. Any of you listening here, we always find out who you are. So you may get your chance to be fan of the week very, very soon. But thanks, Mitch. We appreciate you.
Yeah, shout out to Mitch. You're the best.
Yeah, you're the best. Now, man, and I've been waiting. I have been waiting to get back on the air because you know what I got to talk about right now. And I think everyone else knows what I'm going to talk about right now. Do I even have to say it? I know you weren't looking forward to this topic, but
why would you say that?
We have to talk about because I just know. Because I'm going to gloat. I'm going to gloat.
I wasn't looking forward to this topic. Brian, you don't really know me that well. If we're going to be honest.
Get out of here. I know you very well.
You do not.
You've been doing this for quite some time, so I do know you very well. But New England Patriots are the Super Bowl champs. I had so many people say that this was a down year. So many people said they weren't even going to win a playoff game, let alone the Super Bowl. And they did it. They not only beat the LA Rams, they made the LA Rams look like the worst team in the NFL. They punted the ball like 7 or 8 times. I will admit, it was kind of a boring game. But
kind of.
At the end of the day, New England got it done. Tom Brady gets his 6th win. It wasn't a bad game for me, even though there wasn't a lot of points scored. But at the end of the day, the team that I wanted to win won, and I'm a happy camper. It was a great day. What's your thoughts on the whole game before we get into the halftime show and performances? What was your thoughts on the Super Bowl game as a whole?
Oh, I mean, Tom Brady is dynamite. I've never denied that. He's a fantastic quarterback. Really excited for him. The whole parade, if you watch like the footage from that was explosive. Everybody was so excited. He has so many fans and everybody was on his side. I mean, 6 wins, like that's fantastic. So congratulations to them. It's just a large feat for them to be able to accomplish. But I mean, overall, really, really boring game. 13-3 win over the Rams. It was basically a repeat of their game from earlier that season. And it was bad television. And let me tell you how you know that it's bad football is when the announcers are joking from the beginning of the game that it's bad football. We know that we're going to be in trouble. I mean, bottom line, really, okay, I'm not going to say no, but almost no memorable plays. It just was like a Super Bowl reel. It was kind of ridiculous. But of course, like there was a couple good ones. And then I was just like hoping for a blackout like we saw in one of the previous Super Bowls, like the Ravens versus the 49ers. I thought maybe that would have jump-started the Rams offense, but it was just really anticlimactic, as we see many Super Bowl games are. I mean, the sad part about it is that we get to the playoffs and it's like, all of a sudden, it's like anybody's game, right? Everybody plays different in the postseason. You never know what to expect. It's like, that's the best football we will ever watch. And then you get to the Super Bowl, and it's like the last few years it's been a dud. So, unfortunately,
remember last year? Last year's game was awesome.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, but commonly that sometimes they're lame. So that was disappointing. But overall, congratulations to Tom Brady. Even though I'm not a Patriots fan, I mean, you can't not respect him for that and congratulate him for 6 wins. I mean,
absolutely.
That's awesome.
I think the big thing is, I know people were saying it was bad football. I guess we got to look at it on the other side. It was just a defensive game. Like, both teams game planned very well defensively and stopped the opposing team's offense. So I guess if you're a fan of defense, it wasn't necessarily a bad game. It was just great defense. So, and I get what people say. We've been kind of spoiled the last couple of years with the Philadelphia and New England game from last year being good. And then the year before with the, Patriots coming back against Atlanta being down 27-3. So I think we've just been accustomed to having crazy finishes, crazy games the last couple of years, that it will happen from time to time, that it's just not going to be the best Super Bowl. So I think people were hyped up. You always win a great game. You take 4 hours out of a Sunday night to watch it, and then this dud happens. So I totally get it when people say that. Wasn't a bad game for me. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I can see where people might come from when they say that. The funny part was I was at a Super Bowl party on Sunday with at least 20 people. I was probably one of the only people in the party that wanted New England to win. And I went around and asked every single person, why do they not want the Patriots or Tom Brady to win? The funny part was I didn't get one single logical, real explanation outside of they're sick of seeing him win, and that was it. I'm like, shouldn't you just appreciate greatness in your face? Like, you're never going to see this again. You're never going to see one person do this again. Michael Jordan's not coming around again. You're never going to see this. You should appreciate greatness as to wanting someone else to win. I was like, no one in here is an LA Rams fan. Like, no one really cared for the Rams to win. They just didn't want the Patriots to win. So I see some things going on.
I saw this on your Facebook, so I definitely want to bring it up because I remember you saying a few weeks ago that you wanted Alabama to win because wanted Alabama to lose the national championship because they always win. So literally, it's no different. I mean, that's how I feel. If your team is not in the game, then most often than not, people root for the underdogs. I really don't root for anybody unless I like a team or hate a team, so it doesn't matter to me. But the answer to your question is the same answer that you gave about Alabama. So I just fact checked you. I was waiting for you to bring that up. I was waiting.
Wow, you really fact checked me. That's crazy.
I really did. You're welcome. But I just feel like that's why people don't want them to win. It's the same reason people were rooting against Alabama. And we got the underdog win in the Alabama game this year. We didn't get it in the Super Bowl.
The crazy part about it, I think the Patriots will be back next year. I see that they have a ton of draft. They have a ton of draft picks. I think they have like 7 or 8. I could be totally wrong, but like draft picks in the first 3 rounds. So they're just going to replenish players and they'll be right back. Tom Brady's coming back again. It's incredible.
I enjoyed his interview afterwards where he said he's not retiring until he's 45. I was like, dang, 45 is so old to be a quarterback. Like,
I don't know if I believe that, but I do see he can play maybe 1 or 2 more years. But after that, even I.
How old is he? Do you know this?
I think he's 40 or 41 right now.
Gotcha.
Which for a quarterback in the NFL, that's for an NFL quarterback, that is definitely old. Like, most of you have been playing to the late 30s. So he's beaten Father Time so far. He's one big injury away from being done. But hey, if he keeps winning by all power, keep doing it.
Yeah. Congrats.
Now, speaking of the Super Bowl, what did you think of the halftime show? I've heard mixed reviews. What's your thoughts on the halftime show?
I mean, it was fine. I feel like it's exactly what I would have expected from a Maroon 5 halftime show. I mean, let's be honest, their music is exactly what their halftime show is. It's kind of unmemorable. Like, I mean, I say that they have some hits. They have some good songs that are really good that I like, that I sing along to, but they're songs that have Cardi B in them and other fantastic features. So unfortunately, it wasn't really anything more or less than I expected. I was pleasantly surprised that he took his shirt off, and I was not really expecting that to happen, but he's hot, so he can have it. And that's pretty much the only way I feel about it.
Crazy. So what I thought of the Super Bowl, my first impression was, I didn't know how big they thought, or the people picking the Super Bowl, like halftime performances thought how big Maroon 5 was, because they essentially had like an entire set. And I'm not a huge Maroon 5 fan. I've like a couple songs they've had like here and there when they do features with hip hop artists. I like that. But overall, I'm not a huge Maroon 5 fan. I thought, I was like, man, they actually have a lot of hits, and they actually gave them a full on set. Overall, it was okay. You know, it was what it was. The show around it, like the fireworks, the spectacle, like some of the scenes they did was pretty cool. But in terms of the songs itself, I really didn't care for. Travis Scott was all right. He seemed like, I don't know, he didn't really fit in with what the Super Bowl performance was. I mean, he's always high energy. He's always turned up, so you knew you were going to have that. But I think Travis Scott and Maroon 5 didn't necessarily mix, but kudos to him for doing it. Big opportunity. I'm sure he picked up a lot of fans for it. Having Big Boy out there was pretty dope, too, as well. Overall, I've definitely seen way better Super Bowl performances. Bruno Mars better. Obviously, Beyonce's better, just to name a couple. So I think it was okay. Seemed like Adam Levine wasn't singing that well. Could have been wrong, but it seemed a little bit pitchy. But he could have just been nervous. It was a huge, huge moment for him. But overall, it was just an okay Super Bowl performance. But it seemed like from the reviews, most people didn't really like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best part of the performance was finding out afterwards that they donated their $500,000 payment to the Big Brother Big Sister Charity of America. That made me gain a lot of respect for them out of it. But that was
cool
the most
dude.
notable
He
part
seems
about the
dope. Like I would hang out with Adam Levine. Like when I watch him on The Voice, I'm like, man, this dude seems cool. I like the fact that Maroon 5 or Adam Levine partners and collabs with hip hop artists. He seems to know what works and know what's current and does that. So I respect that about him. But in terms of Maroon 5, the group itself, it's not necessarily for me, but kudos to them for having the chance to do the Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to another topic. If you're done. Are you done? Okay, great.
Absolutely.
So, State of the Union. Yes. President Donald Trump did his second State of the Union address last night. And, so obviously the last one was last year, right? A couple weeks ago, where he shut down the government, and that was just really interesting to watch. And then interesting to watch Nancy Pelosi come back and fact check him. And so now he did another State of the Union review, kind of talking about where we are as a nation. And there's a couple things that we can take away from it. For one, we're still not in a national state of emergency. So if you didn't watch and you're wondering, we're not. He's been saying that for a long time now, for more than a month. He's threatened to put us in a state of emergency along the border of Mexico, because we were refusing to give him $5.7 million for the border wall. But that hasn't happened. We're not in an emergency yet. So it's kind of interesting as to why he called this State of the Union address, in a whole, but I would say it was just him talking and basically giving us another plea for what he wants. It was really, really off-putting for me. I had to turn it off after a while because I just got so sick of it. And then I actually saw leaked in the news that earlier that day, he was at a private lunch with some of the network anchors, and it was caught on tape that he was calling Joe Biden dumb. He called John McCain nasty. He called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. So it's just he does these things and he says these things behind people's back, and he always gets caught somehow, or he goes straight to Twitter, and then he comes to the country and just pleads for us to unify. He just says how we have to come together and make this wall happen. And it's just, he's constantly just contradicting himself. But I will say the one thing that really interests me throughout the whole thing, and I don't know if you caught this, was that more than once, he basically warned against us investigating him. He said that we shouldn't investigate him or the administration because nobody would benefit from that. And it was just really interesting that he's still being so defensive about this. But that's the biggest takeaways. What did you get out of the State of the Union?
Yeah, that was my biggest take. Well, first of all, I know you said, unfortunately, you said he called it. You know, every president does, 4 State of the Union addresses a year, I think. So this is the one where it's just first quarter of the year. I think he has to do it, not necessarily that he wanted to do it, but he has to come up with topics and blah, blah, blah for 82 minutes. So.
Well, actually, he called this one 15 days ago because he said he was going to reopen the government for however many days and then shut it down again.
Yeah, which is stupid. Which
Yeah.
I don't see him shutting down the government again, but
Right.
I mean, I guess I could put nothing past him, but it would benefit nothing doing so. But
Right.
my biggest takeaway, and I'm glad you mentioned it, was the fact that he kept stressing that we should not be investigating him. Obviously, because he knows if we keep investigating him, they're just going to keep finding out more crazy stuff that he's done. And eventually, if they have enough evidence, they could take him down. So, of course, he's going to plead that. But who is really going to listen? I mean, if you're doing illegal things as president of the United States, people are still going to investigate you. So it's 100% going to keep happening. And I hope they do keep investigating him. And eventually, hope he goes down, whether it's in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years from now. I do think he's definitely going to go down. He's done a lot of illegal stuff over the years, so it's definitely going to happen. My other biggest takeaway was he definitely hyped up the women quite a bit, which I'm very surprised. He's very misogynistic. You know, he's very the type of male where it's all about the men and, you know, we're the rulers of the world, this, that, and the other. And at the end of the day, he really seemed to be bigging up the women. I'm not sure if it's for a charity case or to try to maybe potentially start, you know, rounding up votes for when he runs again. There's always an ulterior motive for it, but he did seem to big up the women quite a bit. Overall, he did seem to kind of want to bring the country together. I think it's only for his own propaganda. We are in year 2 now. We're going to start having, you know, the preliminary race for, you know, the next president coming up, the next election. So I think right now he's already starting to politic and plead for votes for the next run. I think that is why he's making some of the moves he made. So I didn't check all of it. I was not watching all 82 minutes of Donald Trump on my Tuesday night. Sorry, it just wasn't happening. But I did give it some time. It was still Donald Trump mode, but it was just kind of weird how he kind of took the opposite approach of trying to be more positive and bringing the country together, which I'm sure today or tomorrow he'll be right back to the same old Donald Trump that we're used to.
Well, he still is back to the same old Donald Trump, because if you go to the New York Times and you find the fact check article, it's so sad that we're in the stage of life right now where we literally publish fact check articles after every single time our president speaks. That's how dumb he is. I'm sorry. Point blank period. He doesn't think before he talks. So go look up the fact check if you have any questions about the state of address, because it really puts everything into perspective. Like when he said that El Paso used to be one of the most dangerous cities in the United States, and the crime has been declining now. That's all false. So go check it out and make the decision for yourself. But I will say, like, different from the last one, he, like you said, it looks like he was trying to bring the country more together, whereas the last one, he was just really trying to, like, be a fear mongerer. So that was really interesting. But still back to the way he is and how he just basically is dumb and says things that contradicts itself, and that's just who he is.
Absolutely. So we can move on from that. Let us know your comments if you saw it, you know, what your thoughts are on the State of the Union address. I'm sure there'll be another one here in a few months, you know, during Q2, and we will see where we stand. Now, before we get to everything Chicago, I know this topic has, not to say old now, but it happened a little bit ago. Obviously, we did do an episode last week, so we have some thoughts on what happened with Jessie Smollet. Obviously, the actor from Empire. I'm sure everyone's heard about it, talked about it, got to give their opinions on it. So we're not going to deep dive into the actual story itself. Obviously, he was in Chicago, coming from New York, I think a week or 2 ago now. Went to Subway allegedly at 2 a.m. and ended up getting jumped by 2 people, allegedly put a noose on him, you know, talked about MAGA runs the country and this and that and the other. So I still think personally that there still are a lot of unanswered questions around this. So first I want to get your thoughts, Cait, and then I'll give mine. Do you believe what happened is 100% true? What's your thoughts behind it? I know it's a sad story, but what do you think of that entire situation?
I just really, I hate to like not believe people when they say things happen to them. Like, obviously I always believe victims in general, but I feel like there is something here that doesn't necessarily add up in his story. And I haven't been following it like really closely, but it's just, I don't know. I guess it just doesn't really 100% make sense to me. I hate to see that anybody would do that to him, but it doesn't really 100% make sense to me. And also I'm confused because he's already back at work.
Right.
And I just feel like, I almost just feel like it wasn't made as big of an issue as it should have been if it really did happen. And I guess that's where some of my skepticism is, but I don't know. I'm still like unsure about the whole story.
You nailed it right in the head. There's a lot of unanswered questions. First, he is back at work. I think he did a comedy show recently and called himself the gay Tupac and all this and the other. So he's almost like playing this up now, like he got beat up and now he's back and he's stronger than ever, this and that and the other. The problem that I have with the story is, for one, this happened in downtown Chicago, 2 a.m. There's going to be videos out there if this actually happened. Mm-hmm. There has been no true, suspects. There's only persons of interest. 3, if he's just randomly coming out of a subway, why would there be 2 guys with nooses on them just randomly look like seeing him all of a sudden saying you're the guy from Empire at 2 a.m. and beating him up? A lot of holes to this story. What I'm thinking happened, and I did read about this in a couple places, what they think happened, he was at some gay club in Chicago, and he was hitting on like somebody's boyfriend or somebody like that. I'm not sure 100% the actual facts of that story, if that's true or not too. And essentially after that, they beat him up. So I do believe he was beat up in some way, shape, or form. But when you're dealing with Hollywood, you're dealing with an actor, you're dealing with a guy with a publicist, and this and that, you got to create a story for some ratings or a story to try to cover up a situation. You may go this far and say it was a MAGA situation. They put a noose around your neck, which we haven't seen the noose, and this and that and the other. I don't know. We're dealing with an actor here. I'm calling bullshit on the story itself. I do think he was beat up. Call me a prisoner of the moment. I just don't see that being 100% real. There's just too many unanswered questions. 2 weeks later, and we still don't know the facts. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I know somebody was on the phone with him that he said something about MAGA country, whatever. I think it was like his music manager, but
they might have.
I'm not sure.
It could have been the guy that beat him up, like he was hitting on the boyfriend or something. It could have been, but
yeah. I mean, I just feel like it's like the facts don't even add up in terms of like what these people were like mad at. Like if it was like a random hate crime and they were just looking for like the first Black person they could find, like how would they know who he was or that he was on Empire, right?
Exactly.
Or if it was somebody who targeted him for Empire or for hitting on someone's boyfriend or for whatever the other conspiracy theory is, then why would they have been screaming MAGA country? So yeah, I don't want to not believe him, but I feel like there are still some missing details, and it might just be details that he's embarrassed to say. So at this point, we don't really know. But He is back at work.
Absolutely. So that's the best way to cover up a story. Let's go to the far extreme to, get people on your side and, feel sorry for you when he might have just got beat up for hitting on somebody's boyfriend.
Yeah, obviously it didn't scare him enough to leave Chicago and drop off the show. So.
100%. So let us know your thoughts, if you think it's true or not. I know I call BS. It sounds like you kind of call BS, but if the story comes out, if it comes out that it's happened, we get proof, I will publicly apologize on air. No issue doing that. But for now, I'm calling BS.
My other thing, too, that I just wonder about is that I really haven't seen, like, any extreme Trump activists since I've moved to the Chicago area. Like, Definitely in Georgia, definitely in South Georgia, right? They were everywhere. But, like, I see Trump supporters, but I've never seen, like, extremists like this here. So that also kind of,
Yeah, in downtown Chicago, it's a very liberal area. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. But speaking of Chicago, speaking of downtown, we got some good topics to talk about here on Everything Chicago. Before we do that, let's pay some bills with the Wrigley Report. So Cubs fans, if you're looking for the latest Wrigley renovations, updates, team news, player analysis, and overall Cub news, look no further than the Wrigley Report. Your source for all Chicago Cub news. You can find them on all the social media sites at the Wrigley Report. Once again, that is at the Wrigley Reports. And boy, we can't wait for baseball season because that means warm weather is coming soon. And before you know it, they will be starting spring training here coming up next month in March. So getting into Everything Chicago, of course, with the Polar Vortex this past week, a huge thing in Chicago during January, early February is Chicago Restaurant Week. Obviously, with it being brutal, the temperatures being so cold, that really didn't happen this past week. So for all of you in the city of Chicago, you will be happy to know that Chicago Restaurant Week has extended the event by 5 days so that the temperatures aren't too dangerous. So over 235 of the 390 participating restaurants are extending their promotional period, which gives diners until February 12th now to take advantage of the discounted menu deal. So it's only February 5th, February 6th. You still got some time. You can look at choosechicago.com. That's choosechicago.com to find the list of restaurants. That's great news for the city of Chicago. Restaurant Week is huge, and glad that it's gotten extended. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you pretty much said it all. Very cool. I know a lot of people were like really bummed out during the Polar Vortex that they couldn't like leave their house. I know I was like totally stir crazy after working from home all day Friday and then half of Thursday. So I was like, get me out of this house. And so I think it's really great that they decided to extend it. It's also, nice for anybody who's like visiting the city next week that gets that extra little perk. And if you've never done Restaurant Week, it's just really fun. It's good discount on like a lot of restaurants that you want to try living in Chicago. And that's like one thing I've really experienced since I've been here is everyone's like, have you been to this restaurant? And I'm like, no. And they're like, what?
Exactly.
And I'm like, bro, there's 8,000 restaurants here.
Exactly.
Like I've been here 365 days. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this?
Right.
So, just a good chance to get out and try different restaurants in the city that you might have not tried before.
Dope. What else we got?
All right. Chicago Cubs in the news right now. If you didn't hear, the father of the Ricketts dynasty got in trouble recently because some emails leaked where he was making some anti-Muslim racist comments. Particularly, he said, Muslims are my enemy. And now, as we're just on the brink of spring training, like you said, starting back and the Cubs season come around and all these updates they're making to Wrigley and all this money that the Ricketts are putting into the field. What's his name? Tom Ricketts is now coming back and making a statement about how his father is not involved in the operation of the Cubs in any way and that he's the trusted person. He's getting a lot of backlash. He's speaking out against it, saying that these emails do not reflect the culture that they've worked hard to build in the Cubs nation since 2009. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that he really has nothing to do with the Cubs, and how do you think this is going to affect the season?
Well, he definitely has something to do with the Cubs, with the son being chairman of the team. I think it's a huge PR move for, him to back away and say that he has no part of the Cubs. I'm part of the Cubs as a chairman. My father is only TD Ameritrade. His comments and opinions have nothing to do with how I think, feel, and believe. So I can kind of rock with that. And you just got to remember, you're dealing with older white men. They come from times in, the 40s, 50s, and 60s when racism was huge. And to think that, here in 2000 something, that their opinions and views are all of a sudden going to change, absolutely not. They're going to have these thoughts and opinions all the time until they die. They may just not say it publicly. I'm just shocked that this guy actually would put this in an email or, anywhere for people to see it. But you have no idea, with, and not necessarily just older white men. It could be any nationality, what they say behind closed doors. This guy just happened to get caught. And I promise you, there's a million other people, maybe his age similar, who have the exact same views and opinions. And he just got caught. He got busted. And I'm glad that he got caught and busted. I don't think this should necessarily have any effect on the Cubs in their season, but this guy should get lost. And he may get clown of the week for this. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I just wonder because when you look at like the Ricketts family tree, so we have Joe obviously at the top who made the racist comments, and then we have, the four kids, Pete, Tom, Laura, Todd. And so Tom is the chairman of the Cubs, and he's saying this doesn't in any way reflect like the team. But then we also have Todd on the other side that is now funding Trump's reelection campaign. And we all know that Trump, we posted this on Facebook actually. So we all know that Trump is racist. Sorry. He is. There's really no way to sugarcoat that. And so it really just makes me wonder about everybody on the board. And it really makes me sad that that's my team. That I don't know if it's going to stop me from, supporting the Cubs because I live right there in Wrigley and I love to go to Cubs games. But like, man, it really makes me like disappointed that they're so racist up at the top.
That's nuts. And it's just the time in the world that we're living in to where people are feeling more comfortable saying these types of things to where 10, 15 years ago, they kept it under wraps. But, deep down, they always felt that way. So it's just at a time I feel like history always repeats itself. And we're just back in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s where people just were very open about how racist they were. And it's just coming out to light.
And still are. Yes.
Absolutely. But flipping it on a positive story, this is a great story. Candace Payne, if you have not read about it, look it up. It was in the New York Times article. Candace Payne, she's just a broker. She's not famous by any means, shape, or form. But obviously, with the Polar Vortex in Chicago recently, very life-threatening. If you were outside, you could have gotten frostbite. You could have died from hypothermia. But what she did is she gave over 100 homeless people hotels to stay in for days at a time. I think the hotel was like $70 per night per room. She paid for it all. She gave people, obviously with homeless people, if you've been in Chicago, you've been in New York, there's homeless people all over the city. A lot in Chicago live like under some of like the highways where they kind of camp out there. They live there as squatters or whatever they do. But she drove around, picked up a couple, and then it kind of just spread from there to where this gave an opportunity to go to the Amber Inn and give them accommodation. They gave them food, toiletries, prenatal vitamins, lotions, deodorant. So she fronted a lot of money. I think she said he spent almost, well over like $5,000, but even more money than that to kind of help fund the homeless people to live. And that's a great story. That's what it's all about. People using their hard-earned money because a lot of people could have died from that. That's how cold it was outside. So shout out to her. It was a great story. What's your thoughts on this and how it impacted the city of Chicago?
Oh, it was just amazing. This was a really inspirational story. And it wasn't just her. Obviously it was like her idea and she came up with it, but she posted on her Instagram. And what I think was so compelling about it is that not only did she just get them hotels, but people flooded her Instagram and came and volunteered. I mean, they showed up in caravans of cars. They met at like Tent City where all the homeless people set up on the side of the expressway, and they brought the homeless people to the hotel. People were flooding donations in her Cash App account. I mean, really just people reaching out, and it's freaking amazing. Some of these homeless people were pregnant. And so not even just from a standpoint of they got to get off the streets for a night and get out of the cold, but a lot of them got to take a shower, got some toiletries, some food, prenatal vitamins, things that they needed. So just really an amazing story. I also saw this morning that an 11-year-old girl in LA raised like $11,000 or something like that for the homeless people in Chicago after hearing about the Polar Vortex. So it was just really inspirational that a lot of people were reaching out and not everybody was just sitting in their homes complaining about how cold it was.
Yeah, so I'm glad that we got past it. It's over. People got to go back to work. People stopped having to be stuck inside. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but it's been a crazy, crazy winter so far. And I feel like the last couple winters have been a lot of just cold times out there. So everyone stay safe, stay warm, do what you got to do, keep your loved ones safe. I'm glad everyone's helping out others in need when this happens. We need to see more of that. It is great to hear, not just in Chicago, but all over the Midwest and Northeast. Everyone, please stay safe.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to some Chicago Bears news. So there used to be a Chicago Bears perk that when you were a season ticket holder, you could get in early and watch the warm-ups at Soldier Field. Well, apparently they have canceled this perk and now they are in a lawsuit because this guy named Paul Greenwald, who is a longtime Packers fan with Bears season tickets, yeah, I said that, showed up in his Packers gear and they tried to kick him out. So he is in a lawsuit. He's suing Bears for violating his free speech right to wear whatever he wants. And now if you have a season tickets, you don't get to come in for warm-ups anymore.
That's crazy. So I guess what they did is obviously you don't have to wear specifically Chicago Cubs gear to come in from sorry, why I say Cubs? I don't even talk about them earlier. Bears gear to be able to watch them warm up. I'm actually shocked that the Bears actually had that be a rule. I like to say, right? You have to be exclusive to Bears fans. That's a little weird. So I'm glad. I'm like, it's 2019. Like, you can wear whatever you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Bears gear. It's actually smart for that dude to sue them. He's probably going to make some money. Yeah. And it's all because he wore some Packers gear. He was probably like, I can actually make some money off this. So shout out to him for that. No shout out to the Bears for actually having that beer rule. It's actually kind of dumb. So I'm glad it's over.
But why would you wear opposing, if you're a season ticket holder and you go to all the games, why would you wear any other team? I don't understand.
But I think they were playing the Packers that day, weren't they? Or I don't know. I guess the way I read the articles, they were playing the Packers. So he just went there early. But I could be wrong on that. But either way, I still think it's a stupid rule.
yeah, I don't know.
Shout out, though, to Coach Nagy, who was named Coach of the Year in the NFL. So we didn't get a chance to talk about that. So shout out to him for that. That's a big deal. Even though they lost early in the playoffs, but it still was a great season for the Bears. So shout out to Nagy for that.
I agree.
Facts. That is everything Chicago. We're going to talk a little relationship advice. I want your thoughts on this one. But before that, we should pay some bills, right?
Yes.
You sure? We don't have to. We could.
Sure, why not? Okay,
All
great.
right.
So, thanks to our sponsor for this next segment, Posh by Amani. It's a women's apparel boutique based out of Houston, founded on faith, love, and the right to stand out. You got to check them out. They just opened up their second location. Madeline is doing big things on Instagram and Twitter, always having sales and giving you discounts. So you can shop her online, Posh by Amani. That's IMANI.com, and on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Posh by Amani, serving all women one curve at a time.
Shout out to Madeline. They're doing great things. They're going to have a big 2019. We got to find a way to meet up with her and do some work this year because she's doing great. So we're proud of you and make sure to keep it up. Now, we're going to get into this relationship advice question. And this spawned from The Game, obviously the rapper. He has a song coming out very, very soon. Obviously, he's trying to rev up for 2019. So what he's been doing is kind of showing previews and kind of previews of the song, kind of talking about, obviously, with Kanye West, hooking up with Kim Kardashian in the past. And now also he is resparking his beef with Joe Budden, the rapper, podcast host now, for previously hooking up with Sin Santana, which he's never, ever seen to mention before. And Sin Santana's on Love and Hip Hop. Sin is actually the fiance of Joe Budden. So he's teased that he's going to brag and kind of talk about this in an upcoming song as well. So I want to get your thoughts. It could be guy or girl. It doesn't necessarily have to be a guy in the situation, but do you think it's bad etiquette in any way, shape, or form to brag about a person you have hooked up with if this happened well before that person is in a set relationship with someone else right now? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's bad etiquette to brag about anybody that you've hooked up with, period. I just don't understand where this mindset comes from. Like, why do you have the need to hook up with someone and then go tell everybody, like, yeah, I did that? Like, I don't understand. Do you have no better accomplishments in your life that's what your culmination of success is? Like, I just think that's bad etiquette. I get that they have beef. I get that whatever, that rappers say things like this and or musicians, period, say things in their lyrics and kind of like underhandedly talk about people. But I just think it's bad etiquette, period. But I will say that it doesn't really matter. I've never been the type of, person who's self-conscious or who's jealous. And like, I obviously, unless they don't, your significant other has a sexual past and a relationship history. They do, unless they don't. And so you would obviously know about it. So I feel like Joe Budden, like, he can't get mad necessarily, but I mean, the game is really rubbing in his face. He's not just saying like, I did this. He's like, he's doing it to be a dick because they have beef. So I just think it's bad etiquette in that case. Like, why do you even need to brag? But I will say the worst part of the situation is that Sin Santana never told Joe Budden about this. Like, obviously she knows their history. She knows what's going on with them. Had she never thought to mention like, hey, by the way, this happened back then. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if she had been upfront about it, like, Joe Budden even more couldn't get mad. But in terms of bragging, that's just boy shower talk. And I feel like it needs to stop. Like, nobody cares. Like, guess what? Everybody hooks up. Get over it. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right. So I don't know. And I listened to the last episode of Joe Budden's podcast, and he said he doesn't even necessarily know if it's true. Like, the game could be doing this just for marketing, because he felt, and I could be wrong, that obviously he felt that Sin would have already let him know that this was the case. Right. So we don't know. There's a lot of gray area. I'm sure we'll find out one day if it's true or not. 2, the game is doing this all for marketing. He knows if he talks about Kim Kardashian, people are going to click on it. They're going to talk about it. It's just Kim K. I mean, Kim K's hooked up with so many people in the industry as it is. Who really cares at this point in time? And 3, yes, I think it's absolutely corny that the game is mentioning anyone, that he's hooked up with or been with in the past. Like, no one cares. Like, as long as it's not happening while you are dating that said person, then who cares? Like, if I'm dating someone now and she hooked up with God knows who before me, I could care less. It honestly means nothing And Joe should have even talked about it. Obviously, he's going to talk about it on his podcast because it's content. It's going to help them, get people to click on it because he's addressing the situation. The game is only doing this for content of himself. He's trying to market a future song. He needs it because he's not doing too much in the rap game anymore. So this is going to people to listen to the song, help him make more money. So he knows what he's doing. This story might not necessarily even be true. Joe shouldn't have even taken the bait. But yes, I think it's corny. I think it's whack to brag about hooking up someone. Joe shouldn't even care. Like, so what if Sin did this in the past? It has nothing to do with them now. And guys, if you're doing this, if you're listening to this, who the hell cares who you hooked up with before if you're not with that woman now? I think it is extremely lame, and it's not for me.
Yeah. And he did come out and say he didn't care. He said, he compared it to like Christopher Columbus. He was like, who cares who's been there before me? He called him Christopher Columbus. So I thought that was really funny. But
that's dope.
Yeah, and then also the game referenced Kylie Jenner in the song that he leaked last month.
Oh, gosh.
He mentioned Kylie Jenner in a song that he like made her breakfast in the morning, and this was supposedly like during the time he was dating Kim. So I just think he's lame. Like, he's kind of irrelevant, but
exactly.
I just hope people don't really like do that. Because that's low. That's really low.
You'd be surprised. Like, people brag about this all the time in certain circles. I've had friends who name nameless too. So
I just feel like if you're busy talking about who you have gotten some from, you're probably not getting some currently. So.
That is very, very true. On that note, we can end on that and get to quick hits. Man, that is a good one. But let us know.
Sorry to my dad who's listening to this.
Let us know your comments though if you think that's cool to do. Some people might think it's all right, but let us know what you think in the comment section on our episode after this. But now, getting into quick hits, we talked about the Super Bowl earlier. We talked about the halftime show. Really haven't heard too much about the Super Bowl commercial. That is always a big thing, is people watch just for the commercials, whether they care about the two teams playing or not. Didn't hear much about it this year. So I know what I feel about it, but what are your thoughts? Do you think the hype around Super Bowl commercials are officially a thing of the past?
It's not a big deal anymore, but I'm going to tell you why. It's because all the companies leak them early. Like days before the Super Bowl, it's like, watch the Super Bowl commercials. And you're like, bro, the Super Bowl hasn't even happened yet. They all leak them early. What's the point of that? It used to be you had to wait to see them. You couldn't go to YouTube. You couldn't go to Instagram and check them out. You had to wait to see them at the Super Bowl. So you essentially had to watch the entire Super Bowl. But now they don't even do that. So what's the point then? What's the point in making you pay that much money? I mean, I guess a lot of people do watch the Super Bowl, but you could just go see them all online.
I hear that. And also, too, I agree with you that it's definitely a thing in the past. And not even because they showed the Super Bowl commercials early. I think for the simple fact that you can't be as risky as you can with Super Bowl commercials because of the time that we're in. Everything is so sensitive. The Me Too movement, Time's Up movement, all these corporations are trying to take a step back. All these executives are getting fired. I don't think any company wants to take a risk right now for having someone with a picket line out in front of your office door or company building the very next day for taking a risk with the commercials. So all the commercials I saw, a couple were funny, but by and large, normally like all of them are funny. You can't wait to see like what the next one is. You can't wait to the next commercial. I didn't get that vibe, and I saw almost every commercial. They were okay, but 100% they're a thing in the past. And I think it's because companies aren't willing to take a chance on anything funny and risky because the times have just changed, and we are very, very sensitive right now.
Well, also, there's just other ways to market. Like
Facts.
Not a lot of people are just looking at traditional like advertisements in terms of that anymore. We have influencer marketing. We have a lot of other things going on. I will say though, the Chance the Rapper one with the Backstreet Boys for the nachos, Flamin' Hot Doritos, that was hysterical. And then there was another one that was I can't remember. I think it was celebrating the 100th anniversary of the NFL, and it had like the highlighted telecast. It had like all the greats in it, like Odell Beckham Jr., Peyton Manning, Terry Bradshaw, Jim Brown, like all the stars. That one I really enjoyed. Obviously, it wasn't really a commercial. It wasn't really funny, but it was cool to watch. Yeah,
that was a funny one too. There were a couple other ones that I liked, but by and large, very, very pedestrian like Super Bowl commercials for sure.
Pedestrian like.
You didn't think I was going to say that, huh?
I was like, what is this?
You don't even know what that means, do you?
All right, moving on to basketball. NBA trade deadline is tomorrow. We have no Anthony Davis trade to LA yet. And then we saw a really devastating loss, 40 points. The Lakers lost to Indiana just a few days ago. What the heck's going on? Are the Lakers in trouble? What are their options right now?
So I think where the Lakers went wrong is LeBron James came in, and obviously they knew they were going to make some moves. I think they're trying to make moves a little too fast. I know this is going to be a process. No one even thought the Lakers would really be a true contender this season. Of course, they're going to make the playoffs with LeBron James. I don't see them even making the NBA championship this season. But what they've decided to do the past few weeks is offer up about half of their team, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, a couple other players, multiple first-round draft picks for Anthony Davis. They've sent all these rumors out. They've sent all these offers to the New Orleans Pelicans for Anthony Davis. And what this has done has divided the team. And it seems like you're dealing with a bunch of young kids who can't handle trade rumors, and they go out and they get killed by 40-some points. And I've seen my homie Steven Sumter, who will listen to this episode. He was talking about how everywhere LeBron James goes, he causes this turmoil within the team, this and that and the other. I do get that, but I think we need to settle down and hold for a minute, because every time LeBron may cause this turmoil, LeBron James still makes it to the NBA Finals or wins an NBA championship. We knew he was going to come in and try to get some of his players in. Where I think he went wrong is he did it a little too fast, and he's dealing with a bunch of kids who can't handle trade rumors. And I would be too if you have 6 of your best players being offered up in a trade for one single player. I think that's what caused a little bit of turmoil. But we do need to pause, take a step back. The Lakers will be okay. I don't think they're going to get Anthony Davis right now. They'll get him soon, but the Lakers will be fine after the trade deadline when all the rumors can be put to rest. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think right now, like with the deadline happening, I just hope that they don't rush right now to try to get something done. I hope that they just chill. Their best move right now is to not make any moves. Keep their young players good for the rest of the season. Keep them fully healthy. Make sure that they can support LeBron. Help him close out the fourth quarters. But as it stands right now, this is a recipe for a good team that should make the playoffs, obviously, without any trade, without any sacrifice, just with their core. And then they have enough cap space, right? They're going to go into summer. They can sign a max player. They get somebody like Durant. Obviously, we've heard Durant say he wouldn't go to the Lakers, or probably wouldn't go to the Lakers, but they'd go into next season as clear favorites. And at the point that we're at right now, like, nobody is close to the Warriors. So it's kind of really useless to make any moves late in the game, try to scramble. Just let it go and let your team do what your team's supposed to do.
Absolutely. So everything will be fine. I love the trade deadline. There's actually been quite a few moves so far. Obviously, Philadelphia got Tobias Harris, which is a great move for Philly to pick him up. He's a borderline all-star. So there'll be more cookies to crumble, I guess you could say, here in the next 24 hours. But it'll be good to see. It's been a pretty good NBA season. I'm excited for the second half of the season. But, yeah, all those doubting the Lakers should chill. Never doubt LeBron. He'll figure it out. But for now, I think they just need to get past the trade deadline. Now, switching to some music news, it was announced just today that French Montana was a surprise move. He's actually going to have a 2-year Vegas residency at Dre's, which is probably my favorite nightclub to go to in Vegas. It's an amazing spot. If you've never been to Dre's, make sure you go. It was also announced recently that Cardi B is also going to be doing a Vegas residency. So obviously with Drake getting his announcement, it seems that Vegas loves hip hop artists, and they're going to be doing more residencies coming up here in 2019 and beyond. So if you had to pick someone, Cait, who would you want to have a Las Vegas residency?
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Oh my gosh.
No, I don't know. No, I don't know. I mean, I feel like everybody at this point, they're just giving them away. Everybody gets one. Who cares? It's like Oprah. You get a Vegas residency. You get a Vegas residency. Like, what does it really, does it really mean anything as much anymore? Not
really, but I guess they're getting paid a lot of money to do it. And
that's cool.
People are always in Vegas. So just think if you actually go to Vegas and French Montana is going to be there. Cardi B is always there. I'm not sure how many shows they've signed up to do per year, but if you're going to be in Vegas, they'll get a good concert seeing them there. So kudos to them for doing it. I'm pretty surprised they gave French Montana one. He's not known for his performances, but hey, if they're going to offer you money to do it, by all means, go for it.
I'm kind of surprised they gave Cardi B one. I feel like she hasn't been around that long.
Right.
But obviously she'll make 2 albums?
One album. Obviously she's been on a lot of features, but yeah, one true album.
Right.
A lot of features, but hell, if they're going to pay her to do it, by all means, go for it.
Yeah. Who do you think should get one?
Well, I don't know. It's a tough call. I mean, if you're going to do rappers, I'm sure one day Kendrick Lamar will have one. I'm sure one day Travis Scott will have one. I'm just thinking of people who are like great live performers. That's what I
I
want to see.
can't really see Kendrick Lamar doing something like that. Like
never be surprised.
Away 2 years of his life.
You never, obviously, they're not doing it every single weekend. I'm sure it's like maybe once a month or something like that. I can see him doing it.
Yeah, Travis Scott, it still keeps your touring limited.
Oh, absolutely. But obviously, if you're on a jet, you can fly there to Vegas for a night, do a show, and then keep on your tour. So I think there's ways around it. Even with Cardi B, I think she'll be okay. But I can eventually see someone like a Travis Scott, like if he does a great live show, I can see him doing it eventually. If Kanye gets his act together, I can even see him doing it. One day, sometime in the next couple of years. I don't necessarily want to see it, but I can see him signing up for something
Only if he plays old music.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see even if Jay-Z decided to do it for 1 year, do a Vegas residency. That would be amazing. So those would be.
That would honestly be really good. I would like to see Jay-Z.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll see.
There'll be more to come this year. They should do one together.
Oh gosh,
They should do a Rubber Tour residency.
Oh gosh, that could happen one day.
That would make money. That would make amazing money.
Absolutely.
All of their concerts were sold out.
For sure.
All right, 100%. Let's move on to TV news. Mm-hmm. So, the TV show Atlanta just found out that they have delayed season 3 yet again. Fans are upset. They keep pushing it back, and now rumors are that it's not going to happen. Is this a big loss? Do you like Atlanta? What do you think's going on?
So I like the show. I didn't catch a lot of the last season because I've just been so busy. The first season was dope. The parts of the second season I thought was great, but I think we're just at a time where Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, whatever you want to call him, he's just very busy. He's got a lot going on. Still got his music thing. He's headlining Coachella. He's an actor and other things. He's still making music. It's probably very time consuming to have a TV show they have to put on every single season, but it does great in the ratings. So I think it'll be back eventually. But if they have to take a season off and do some other ventures, I think the show will be okay. The fans will be okay. Now, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't really watch TV, so it doesn't really affect me either way. But yeah, I think that he's stretching himself too thin. Obviously he's working on a new album at the moment while he's still on tour for This Is America. Yep. He's Grammy nominated. He's busy, and I feel like Atlanta is kind of least of his worries at the moment, which sucks for the fans, but it's also probably the least moneymaker at the moment. So.
Absolutely. The Grammys are this weekend, so we'll definitely be talking about that on next week's episode. So I'm sure it'll be interesting as well. Lastly, speaking of music, well, this guy doesn't really do music anymore, but what the hell is going on with Bow Wow? If you haven't heard, him and his ex, Leslie Holden, got into some type of argument or altercation this past weekend during Super Bowl weekend in Atlanta, in Bow Wow's hometown. Saw his mugshot. He has scratch marks all over his face. Looked like he's got his ass kicked. I'm not sure what the heck happened. It was at 4 a.m. They always say nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m., which definitely rings true. What the hell is going on with Bow Wow? It's been one thing after another. Is he okay? Does he need rehab? Something's not up with him. What's your thoughts on Bow Wow?
I mean, I just feel like he's just a normal person now that has a famous name. He's not really doing anything. I feel like he just fell really hard out of the limelight, but I'm really glad that you brought this up because I'm really disappointed in the way that the internet acted about this whole epidemic that happened in Atlanta, because it really was. It was a whole situation. They got in an altercation. She beat him up. She really hurt him. You can see from the pictures, he's bleeding. And then his mugshot, of course, went viral. And everybody was calling him, the P word, making fun of him and saying how he's weak and he's this and he's that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the absolute wrong way to approach this. And I just want to say kudos to Bow Wow for not fighting back, because if he had, this would have been another Chris Brown incident and y'all would have been hating on him for hitting his girl, regardless of who started it. We don't know. We were not there. But I'm so disappointed in the internet for how they acted. And I mean, thank you to Bow Wow for not hitting his girlfriend back. I'm not saying it was okay or that she should have hit him or that it's not domestic violence both ways, but thank you for not hitting her back. And I salute you personally.
Agreed. And obviously, her PR team is trying to say he was the aggressor and he was hitting her, but she had no marks on her face at all. Social media is terrible. And I'm glad you mentioned it, because if he hit her in any way, shape, or form, obviously he should go to jail. And people will be saying to throw him under the jail, lock him up, finish him, he's canceled, never talk to him again. But he didn't. The bigger thing with Bow Wow, he has a lot of demons he needs to face. A lot has gone on with him in his life the past couple of years. I think he just needs to take a step back, take some time off, hit the reset button on his life and career. I mean, he was famous from a young age, and right now things just really aren't going well for him. No matter how much money he claims he has, and this, and that, and the other, he's taking a lot of L's, and he's just always in the media for the wrong thing. Seems like a good dude. He's facing a lot of demons. I don't know if he needs rehab or he just needs some help. He needs Jesus. I'm rooting for the guy. You know, he's had a great career. Bow Wow can't go out like that. But for all those slandering him for not hitting her and getting beat up, you guys suck for that. But at the end of the day, hope he gets the help that he needs. And that girl's crazy. But they just need to both move on, go their separate ways. They're exes for a reason, and it's just not going to work.
You sounded like such a dad right there. Like, if he hit her in any way, shape, or form, like, I'm going to find him.
Nah, I guess.
That was good. Hey, I'm with you. Let's go on to the clown of the week.
Let's do it. So I'll go first this time. My clown of the week, and we were just hyping up Demi Lovato, and I was rooting for her, and, you know, what she went through with going to rehab, and she's back out, and I don't know what happened, but it sounded like she wanted to be back in the media for the wrong reason. You think for someone who kind of went through some issues, had to delete her, you know, social media, you know, for people picking on her. She decided to pick on 21 Savage. So my clown of the week goes to Demi Lovato. If you have not heard, obviously 21 Savage, all of a sudden was on the process of getting deported, like by ICE. And I thought 21 Savage was from Atlanta. So I've been,
everyone did.
I'm like, what the what? But anyway, so there was memes going around. You know, social media is crazy. They're always joking on people. There was memes going around about it, and Demi Lovato had the nerve to start tweeting about it and laughing at some of the memes and almost poking fun at 21 Savage for almost getting deported. I mean, 21 Savage has turned his life around. Yes, he's been in trouble in the past, but the last 3 years he's been very successful, had a great album at the end of 2018, going on tour, sold out shows, making a lot of money, and then this comes up. And for Demi Lovato, who's faced a lot of demons, who's been in rehab, had to deal with the backlash of the media, to turn around and laugh at him. I love Demi Lovato, but I can't rock with you there. And on our show, no person is exempt from Clown of the Week. So I hope she learned a lesson. I know a lot of people in the media came after her. I know Wale was coming after her, and she seemed to fight back at Wale even too. So hopefully she's not back on the drugs and losing her mind again. Demi, we're rooting for you, but today you do have to get the Clown of the Week.
Hopefully she's not back on the drugs. Just because she said something.
I don't know, but normally she would. I don't know. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's fire. But hopefully she's okay.
All right. My clown of the week, you already know, goes to Joe Ricketts.
Yep.
Owner of the Cubs, the Ricketts family, head of this dynasty, for saying that Muslims are our enemy. And not even just that. My clown of the week is whoever let this old white man talk. Like, I'm just so over hearing things like that. And I totally respect what you said about these people that are just racist, ingrained, and that they can't do anything about it. Then you know what? Don't give them a platform to speak. And these don't need to be the people that are in the limelight, that have access to the media and that can say things. And like, it's 2019. Everybody's phones got hacked not long ago, and all those celebrities' naked pictures went out. Like, nothing is safe over technology. Like, please don't email racial comments to anybody. Don't text them. Don't email them. Like, if you're a racist, just be racist, but don't do things like this, because I'm so sick of these old white men doing things like this. And I sincerely hope that it doesn't hurt the Cubs franchise like farther. But I mean, I feel like they're going to lose some fans because of this, that's ridiculous. It's 2019.
That is
like, get
ridiculous.
it together. Yeah, that's whoever let this white man speak. Like, y'all are my clown of the week.
That's where we're at. Like, people just feel like we're in the times. Like, Trump's giving people the power to say whatever they want. So that's just
lo and behold, Joe Ricketts gets a Twitter. I will delete mine.
God.
I will be done.
Oh God, that was a fun episode. I'm glad to be back. Missed you last week. Glad you're safe. Glad you're home. And we thank you all for the listeners. Please make sure you get out and support our live show. If you cannot make it, if you're not in Chicago, please go on our Eventbrite. Buy tickets. They're just $12. Some of the portions go to Ron Up and Get Down the House. It's for a great cause. So we can't wait to see you on February 26th. And shout out to Lewis Parks, who was on episode 75. We didn't get a chance to shout him out from Love Connection. It was a great episode. Got great feedback. He's a funny dude. So glad he was on the show. So before we get out of here, Cait, you got anything else?
No, I mean, you said it all. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. It was great to be back.
Yep.
And, we'll see you next week.
All right, so we'll see you next week. Episode 76 is in the books. We'll be back with episode 77. We love you all. Buy tickets to the show, please, please. This is Alternative Facts to Chicago. B.Hun and Cait. I'm out of here.
If you haven't heard anyway,
Stop.
Okay, bye.